On this problem, it says lab results for a medical test have a 10% chance of being a false positive. The false positives are independent, that means they're not affecting each other. A physician sends in 20 samples to be tested. What is the chance that none of these samples, 20 samples, is false positive? So we're looking for none out of 20 that will be false positive. So if you think about that, well, how are you going to get none false positives? Well, if you have 20 tests, you would have to have the first one is not false positive. And you'd have to have the second test be not false positive. And you'd have to have the third test be not false positive. And all the way up to the 20th be not false positive. Okay, so that's how you'd have to get non-false positives. Now, they didn't give us the probability of not false positive. Like, how are we going to find the chance that the first one is not false positive? Well, for that, we come off to the side here, and we say, okay, let's think about this. If they said the chance of a false positive is 10%, or let's say 0.10, because it works better when we work with decimals, then that means the probability of a not false positive. Well, remember, everything has to add up to 100%, or if you're using decimals, everything has to add up to 1. So we can do 1 minus 0.10, which gives me 0.90. So that means the probability of a not false positive has to be 90%, because if the probability of a false positive is 10%, the probability of a not false positive is 90%, or 0.90. So because they're independent, that means we can just multiply all the probabilities together. We don't have to worry about them changing each time. So the first one to not be false positive would be 0.90. And we want the next one, so we're going to multiply. We want the next one to not be false positive, so 0.90. And then we're going to keep multiplying. We want the next one to not be a false positive, so it's 0.90. And the next one all the way up to the 20th one. So basically, I multiplied this 20 times. And anytime you want to multiply something 20 times, you just raise it to the exponent of 20. That's what our exponents mean. That's why we first came up with them, to multiply something lots of times. So we'll do 0.90 to the 20th power, and it should give me 0.1215. So there's about a 12.15 chance that none out of 20 were false positives.